Our next topic that we were going to talk about is drones.
Drones.
Now, this is where I should take the time to point out that Anthony is a FAA certified union drone pilot.
Exactly.
And so I'm going to let you kind of dive into this because what we have up here on the front of the table is my little DJI Mini 3 Pro, but the new one has come out.
Mini 4 Pro, about 2 or 3 months after that one came out.
Yeah. Right.
Yep. I don't know what DJI is doing. They have been, for the past like 2 or 3 years, they just dropping new products every 2 or 3 months. No matter what it is, whether it's an item that just came out, like the Mini 3 Pro came out like earlier this year sometime, I think. It was.
Yeah, exactly. It wasn't even a year.
It's not even a full year. Yeah, and now the updated version has come out. I don't know what, like I said, I don't know what DJI is doing, but they are just cranking out stuff.
I do like what they've done with the new one. So I bought this one because, unlike Anthony, I am not a full drone pilot. I just do this for fun. But that one is really geared towards people like myself because it has the anti-collision cameras. It's small, so technically I don't need to register it because it's within that weight range. But it's got good low light performance. It's even got the vertical video built into it. And they just stepped it up because I think the new one now has 360-degree cameras.
Omnidirectional cameras. So if you're moving to the side, it'll know when, it'll block, and you can do the bypass where.
Right. So you can program moves, which again is something that Anthony doesn't need to do because he can just do that.
Yeah.
It's something that somebody like me who's not a pilot finds.
Like that. Drones like that are good for like traveling, going to different places and all that. You don't necessarily have to worry about getting a license or registration in another country if you need to, because like I said, it's under that weight class.
What is it, 250 grams?
Yeah, 250 grams. Anything 250 grams and under, you don't have to register and all that, because it's not considered a toy drone, but it's the lightest weight to not, I guess, what they consider to not be able to cause too much damage if it runs into something.
Exactly.
Or crashes and all that. So, anything over that, you have to register and get licenses and all that type stuff. But no, drones are...
It's a hobbyist drone. I guess that's the best way of...
That's definitely a hobbyist drone, And drones in general have blown up over the past 4 or 5 years.
Oh my gosh. It's changed so much.
Yeah, so much in terms of like consumer drones and as far as on-set filmmaking, because you can do things with like FPV, which it took me a while to get into. Though once I got into it, I'm full bore into that as well, with 5-inch drones that can carry GoPros and other action cams, to big center lifter drones that can carry FX6s and
and Area 235s. Yeah, I mean you can go crazy. You can put a full 35 millimeter film camera on these drones. Exactly.
And how big is that magazine? That's like it's more than 400 feet, right?
No, that's not that's a 400 foot mag.
That's a 400 foot mag.
Because you're not going to want to put a 1,000 foot mag on there. At that point, you might as well get a helicopter.
The fact that drones have the technology is just booming. As far as the types of unique shots that were just 4 or 5 years ago unthinkable to get. I mean, you can do
especially for hobbyists like myself, where I would have had to have called Anthony just to do a simple shot of me walking around. Now this thing can actually track. I mean, admittedly, again, this is like going back to autofocus. It's not going to work as well as a professional pilot, but for a hobbyist like me, where I'm not doing this for a living. This is
you're just like on your leisurely bike ride.
Exactly.
Which is actually pretty nice, by the way. I saw the video of it going through the tunnel, and I was like, oh, that actually is pretty
I was surprised by that too.
It like tracked him as he went in this tunnel, and it came out and all that stuff. And,
Admittedly, did get a little confused because like, should I?
Well, the thing was is that it's weird because you were outside the tunnel. It was following you. You went in the tunnel. It followed you. And once you got back out, that's when it stopped for a second.
That's right. That's right. I got a little confused, and then it just kept going.
Yeah, and then it tracked him again, and it kept going. So I was wondering why it stopped at the end of the tunnel and not like right as opposed to like right before it went in. But I don't know.
And I do have to I was very impressed because again, this is not the new one that just came out, so it doesn't have cameras looking up.
Yeah.
So it knew that it had to fly lower, and I'm glad that it stayed there.
Yeah. Yeah, the obstacle avoidance is they've been working on their obstacle avoidance because, like I said, I don't know how many drones they probably get back that people have crashed and
I can only imagine. Yeah. So again, this is perfect for hobbyists like myself that are not professional pilots.
Oh yeah. So we move from that end to the opposite end of the spectrum with the DJI Inspire 3 that came out earlier this year. The highly anticipated Inspire 3 that everyone was talking about. They've been waiting because the Inspire 2 had been out for 4 or 5 years now. The camera is pretty good. I don't understand why it needed to be 8K because
that seems to be the thing. You know, it's like oh boy. Okay, I'm gonna go into my little rant here for a second. My problem with anything over 6K. So I would say that the majority of the stuff that even Anthony and I work on, including big like multi-million-dollar productions, really don't shoot much beyond 4K. Occasionally we'll shoot whether it's at 4.2 or 4.6K. A lot of shows still shoot 2.8K. And some of them have moved into shooting with like the Venice that has established the 6K, which I think is kind of the sweet spot for high resolution production. 8K, which of course has been around for a long time, thanks to Red and a few other sort of DSLRs or mirrorless that have come out. But the reality is that I'm just not buying the extra resolution. I mean, yes, there's 8K TVs out there, but no, your eyes can't resolve that much resolution.
Exactly.
Especially at the distances that you're going to be viewing that.
Exactly.
Now, some people will say, well, it's for the VFX guys, but I'm not buying that either because I had a couple of friends that were working on what's that Marvel movie? Black Widow. And they were shooting those with the Area Mira, which is, I'm trying to remember what the resolution is on that. It's, yeah, but it's less than 4K.
I think that was me.
Well, I'm glad that the computer approved of my comment here. But anyway, this is a huge visual effects film, and the shots that they were shooting were for VFX, being shot on an Area Mira, which was not shooting RAW, by the way. And although I know that Area Mira can shoot RAW, but for this particular sequence, they were not.
With the Mira ARRI RAW license, it gives you 16:9 2.8K. And
this is a major theatrical big Marvel film, and a lot of these Marvel films were actually shot at 2.8K if they were shooting RAW. So I'm just not buying the 8K argument. I mean, whenever you see a YouTuber go, well, you know, it helps with green screen, I was like, well, first of all, how bad is your green screen?
Yeah, exactly. If you need to go up to 8K to smooth
like,
it
if
out,
that's really a problem,
you need a
different solution.
It's a different problem than the 8K that you need. Yeah, and it's, your eyes just, you're not going to see it. Yes, they're 8K TVs, but that doesn't matter because, like you said, your eyes naturally don't resolve anything past 4K. You can say it's that, but you're not going to see it unless you're like the TV is like right here at your face.
At which point you've got issues.
Yeah, you got bigger issues than that.
Right. I was like, maybe glasses are in order.
Yeah. But yeah, is the 8K to 6K and all that. Like there was a notable difference when we went from like even like high 8 to like standard definition. And there was a notable difference when we went from standard definition to high definition.
Oh, it was a big difference.
Yeah,
because we went from analog, standard definition, the consumer formats in particular, to even the consumer digital formats. There was a huge difference. And then there was a big difference when we went from even the best digital broadcast standard to the first high definition standards, which was 720p and 1080i. 1080p was close behind, but it hadn't come out yet. And there was even an 1125 there for a moment.
Oh yeah,
which is a bizarre format that they had used for the 1996 Olympics here in Atlanta.
Oh, nice!
It was the first Olympics broadcast in high definition.
Nice! I did not know that. But yeah, it's just the 8K. I don't know why.
But yeah, but once you pass 6K, you're not doing. Now the other comment, I know somebody's gonna say, "Well, you can just punch in."
Oh, yeah.
I know.
Yeah, tell them about punching in.
Yeah, and I'm really thinking like a cinematographer here because I was just like, how bad is your composition?
Well, well, it's not even about that because yes, I remember. I can't remember if it was one of the first like 4K advertisements for the mini cameras that had it at the time when it first came out. They were like, yes, we can, all you have to do is get this one master shot and then you punch in for this 2-shot and this 2-shot and this single and this close up and all that. And I'm like, well,
a couple problems with that.
Yeah. I was like, yes and no. Because typically whenever you change your shot from the master, you don't just change the framing, you change the camera angle, the camera position, lens, all that. So if you have the same static shot with 4 or 5 different punch ins, it's still going to look the same.
It's the same shot.
It's the same shot. No matter how many times you punch in and how close you get, it's still going to look like the same shot. Because you haven't moved the camera.
Now, sometimes that may be what you want. Let's say you're doing that dramatic thing where it's like dun dun dun. Then sure, that makes sense. I'll buy that. Although you could just move the camera, but you could do a punch in if you really wanted to. I mean, it's essentially doing a zoom. But when you're using it as a way to, the problem is that for a wide shot and a close-up shot, the height of the camera changes. And so if you're just zooming in from the point where you are, you're not getting that difference in, like you said, not that different shot, and not anything that's specific to that shot either.
Yeah, exactly. Like a different angle where you can highlight this part of the set more than this part, and all that and other. You don't get all that if you just have one master and just punch in a whole bunch of times.
Plus, if the camera is moving, have fun with that punch-in.
Oh, yeah.
And that happens a lot. So, I mean, on stuff like this where we just have a single camera.
Yeah, because notice I said wide static.
Right. Exactly.
Not wide moving.
Exactly. So, that's just my little rant about the whole 8K thing. I just don't think it's necessary. Even IMAX has kind of been happy. I mean, yes, they can scan IMAX film at 8 or 12K. But also, you would need an 8 or 12K projector, which doesn't exist at the moment. At least not that I'm aware of. I'm sure somebody will comment on that. But certainly not in the mainstream theaters. But again, Tom Cruise did Top Gun on the Venice 6K, and it looked amazing. And it matched well with the IMAX footage because it, again, it was accepted by IMAX to be a standard that they approve of.
Nice. But I don't know what to do with 8.6K, which is the new Venice 2, and even the Sony Bravando. We can jump right into that. The new Sony Bravando. Okay. Here's my first thoughts on it. I will be getting it, so it is a camera I do like. I'll go ahead and confess about that. There are some people that, of course, are complaining about it in terms of being a motion picture camera. So I like to look at things in three classes of cameras, and Anthony, feel free to to correct me on any of this. Okay. But we have what I like to call the YouTuber and blogger cameras, which is something like this, which is the ZV-1, and actually the FX3, which is what we're shooting this podcast on. The next class of cameras is what I like to call professional or production, also ENG and documentary cameras, and these are fairly lightweight, but these are also oftentimes operator-driven cameras. In other words, they may or may not have a camera assistant. Some of these cameras actually do have the ability to work fairly well with camera assistants, but the majority of the functionality you will notice is on the operator side, not on the assistant side. And then you get into the motion picture cameras, and these are the Arri Alexa family, the Sony Venice family, the Red Raptor XL, not the regular Raptor, and the Red Rangers, and of course the Panavision DXL. These are motion picture cameras. They have a proper camera assistant side. They have a lot more I/O connectivity, and they are designed to work in that production environment. A lot more buttons and knobs and switches.
Right, exactly.
To do all sorts of things with it.
And I know I'm going to have a lot of Arri fanboys out there kind of hate me for saying this, but I was never a fan of the Arri Mini. And mostly because it didn't have any buttons on it.
Oh, yeah.
By the time you kitted it out with everything you needed, including that viewfinder, which used to drive me crazy, I love using the EVF, by the way, so I had no problem with the optical quality of the EVF. Beautiful viewfinder. What was bothering me was the fact that you had to have that on there just to change the settings on the camera.
Oh, yeah.
I would have much rather just had a dedicated buttons for it.
Well, then, so you're talking about the Mini still, right?
Right, the first Mini.
So, oh yeah. So, well, I don't know if this was on the first Mini or not, but someone might point out the fact that there was the app.
That's right. The Bluetooth app.
Yeah, the Bluetooth app that you didn't necessarily have to have the viewfinder. But then that's a whole nother piece, and trust me, if you're on set and people are hollering at you to get the shot and get the camera up, you're not going to be saying, hey, I got to wait for my phone to connect to this camera so I can
hey, I'm connecting.
You're not going to be waiting
for Bluetooth. You're going to be around, tons of people also using their Bluetooth wireless.
Oh my God, you know how much interference you have on set with cameras and video systems and
it's a pretty crowded spectrum,
Wi-Fi and all this. Everyone is vying for everything when you're on set.
Yeah.
Like, and you got hundreds of people all trying to do the same thing.
It is.
So you're not going to be. Yes, the app was there, but it was not a professional tool by any means.
Right. But I did appreciate that Arri did that, and of course they did have the hotkeys, so it made it a little bit easier. And some of the better ACs that I've worked with, like Anthony, actually had that camera down to a science, being able to change it. But again, sometimes when you had to make those bigger changes, it was a little bit of an ordeal, especially if it was on a Steadicam or a gimbal or somewhere where you needed to take most of that stuff off of the camera. And especially in situations where the camera was perfectly balanced. And as soon as they plug it in, it screwed up your balance.
Oh, yeah.
This, of course, is back in my Steadicam days, but...
No, but honestly, there's nothing...
Sometimes I'd get an AC that would sneak in there and be like, what's wrong with my camera? It's off balance again.
Well, they're really... And until you've experienced it yourself, there is nothing as satisfying as having a perfectly balanced Steadicam where you can just rotate it as fast as you can and it just...
Oh, that's right.
Spins.
Perfectly dynamically balanced.
Perfectly dynamically balanced. Oh, it's such a nice sight.
I will admit I do find myself missing it occasionally, where I'm just like, oh, you know what? We can do this on. Oh, yeah, I don't do steady anymore.
Yeah, still